we gave it our best shot, I'm afraid. But give something along the line. Something was different. Dead bird in the wheelbarrow. So, no, it's just when that alarm hit the window the first day we were up there. A few minutes later I saw it, or I thought I did, sticking out the roof. Exactly where I'd expected it, just below the attic. Which pretty much killed off a little hypothesis I had before I had a chance to get going. That the room we'd been standing in was not the same one as we're looking at now on top of the house. But then, what you said yesterday, obviously, you opened the whole thing up again. That bird could have been there for days, and prove anything. Maybe it wasn't such a bad idea after all. Bearing in mind the size of the place, and the fact you're going up the spiral staircase, by the time you get to the top, you could be almost anywhere. We just take it as read that it's an attic because of the small. gooey effect, it's fairly safe to say, was preset to drip all over Mencken as he lay in the bed that night, just to make doubly sure he's going to want to freshen up in the morning. The fact that it's now harbouring dead insects may well have had a similar effect on your friend. I don't know how she felt about spiders at all, but...
And it was a piece of soap he didn't want us to see.
Flew across the floor, you think, when he went under?
Of course, history doesn't record the fate of all the people who spent the night there and didn't take a bath. Pathology works best when it's selective.
Yes. Well, we see the light now, at least, on so many things this morning. That strange affair in the warehouse, which I'm sure was an honest mistake at the time.
Sorry, what do you mean mistake? I told you.
No, forgive me. We know now it was a mistake. The police rang me earlier to confirm. Lance couldn't possibly have murdered Elodie, as you claim, because they've just received a video that quite clearly shows her alive and well at 8 o'clock this morning. Mr. and Mrs. Hui Cheng were filming this little moment in the park at 8:13 this morning. Time and date there, as you can see. Also, just here, our local daily newspaper, published only this morning. Our two young tourists apparently recognized her from all the news coverage and rang up the police straight away.
This is not possible.
I'm afraid it's not only possible, it's irrefutable. Wherever she is, and whatever she's up to, and whatever it was you saw that night, my son is innocent.
Okay, I am not too proud to admit. I am now so out of my depth. I mean, you were there. That was not a trick. That woman could not have been more dead. Verified by a qualified nurse, for God's sake. And now, a couple of days later, here she is walking around the park. After we all saw her with her throat cut open.
There's ways you can stop a pulse in your hand. I think Adam does by squeezing a tennis ball under his arm. But this certainly puts Lazarus in the shade. Still got that newspaper. Now that is curious. Taken together with this, that's almost conclusive, wouldn't you say?
Would I?
You would if you knew your David Hockney. Because therein lies the perfect cryptic clue. Which, if you cast your mind back through everything we've seen and heard these last few weeks, points us in a very clear direction towards the one person here capable of pulling something like this off. As daring a piece of magical misdirection as you ever saw. Utterly amazing.
Right. Is this something you want to share with me at all, or...?
Absolutely, but it might make sense to get down the local Nick ASAP. Assuming I missed the guest that was shortly released without charge, and who knows? Might be able to put this whole thing to bed. You can cheat death on stage every night, or appear to. But what happened in that warehouse was as real and sadistic and unequivocally final as it gets. Lance Gessler murdered Elodie that night, as he'd always planned to, after God knows what taunting and suffering had gone on since he staged that phony kidnap. Tempting as our little thought was about the emergency tracheotomy, not sure I ever really had legs. Somewhere, you imagine, behind that facade of charm was a gene that drove him, like his grandfather, to crush all opposition with ruthless ingenuity and with a callous disregard for anyone else who brought him to help. Someone who might come along and pick up that money in the road. And someone who somehow managed to rig up a video that appeared to contradict the evidence of 3 independent witnesses. Of course, he never expected to be caught in the act like that. That footage was always part of a carefully planned insurance policy. Kidnapped victims caught on camera taking a quiet stroll in the park. Even if she never turns up again, it'd be hard to put a murder case together. Maybe we'd all warmed to the idea that she faked it with Glenn so the two of them could do a runner together. But how was it done? Grabbing her shot one morning before she goes missing, if you know where she's going to be, it's easily arranged. But how do we explain that newspaper that was conveniently being read in the background? A daily paper with up-to-the-minute news that couldn't even have existed until first thing this morning. Or could it? I suppose you know exactly what's going to be on the front page of that paper more than a week beforehand. Because you're the person who's going to design it. And the question then is, how could you possibly know what the big story is going to be that day? Answer: because you're going to create it yourself. Council meeting being interrupted by a swarm of bees. It wasn't too tricky to engineer. And not too tricky once you think back to trace the culprit.
That's Lady Oliver Cooper, chairperson of the Round Table. Delia Gunning, our local newspaper editor. Delia, this wouldn't be more of your scrummy homemade honey.
Back page, of course, less of a problem. Local sides are dead cert to get knocked out of a cup tie. But the cheap alternative probably is a cutaway, just in case. The thing I suppose that sealed it was that headline on page 3. Major new motorway that's going to devastate the local community. Surely a more obvious choice for a front page lead than the one that was already locked in place. Or, in David Hockney's words, a bigger splash. Imagine your cast of bit players, Japanese or otherwise, would have been slipped a few quid probably to play ball.
Bit players. When we all... He told me he loved you. One of his finest illusions. But she would have destroyed him. They always do, women like that. You think what she knew was everything that was sacred and vital to his career, his life. The way she betrayed him already, and the contempt she showed. How could he have risked that kind of exposure?
Then maybe if she wasn't to be trusted, Neither were you.
Collaborator in abduction, accessory to murder. How much did you know? Enough to warrant an unfortunate accident on the stairs when you got home.
Dear God, forgive me.
Ravi was in the dark.
Eh?
Seen this one? Oh, started knitting then, I went.
I suppose you've heard. How did she take it?
The one thing we can never escape is our destiny. However much I prayed this day would never dawn, once the seeds have been sown.
The seeds.
Oh, look into my eyes. You can't see? The light of innocence died there long ago.
This is all to do with that painting.
You said something once about rescuing it from a fire?
It was 1965. I was staying at a relative's house in Osnabrück. They said it was a stray coal or something from the grate.
That's what our show is about. Tiny much. And nobody can keep glass ketchup and canoeing.
And still we continue, don't we, to make that choice between the present and posterity. I always knew, of course, that God would punish me, but never like this. I made him want it, you see, so much. Devoted my life to that dream. That one day he would be the greatest showman on earth. Day by day, I turned ambition into obsession. Never even noticed his own mother. I've given birth to a monster.
So, a certain surreal symmetry, you have to say, prevailed there in the end?
Man with a pipe in there.
Because by then, I guess he had nowhere to hide.
Magicians don't even go there.
Yes, we're just waiting for our friends to arrive. There'll be 6 of us in all.
If you'd like to take a seat over there, please. Thank you.
I've booked their exclusive private banqueting suite for the evening. For all-round intimacy and sophistication, it has no equal in London. So, what's next? You run this little puzzle on the web so the whole world gets the inside story?
And, incidentally, if you're up for a bit of sponsorship, I could do you a good deal on some advertising space. Very funky demographic. Could bring you a whole new audience.
Well, you know, ordinarily.
If it weren't for the fact this other little venture's just completely cleaned him out, investing in the 3D porn industry.
The wisdom of which clearly escapes you, John. So try this one for size. A binding contract from Mr. Snuffy White himself. That in return for my not immodest contribution yesterday guarantees me 20% profit participation on every title in their catalog, which, I tell you guys, is serious peanuts.
Except you realise there's no signature on this document.
That's weird. But I was there. I watched him sign it in front of me.
Right. Given the fact that she's already fooled you once, Adam, you don't think it's possible that Miss Candy Mountains might actually have been selling you one great big dummy all along just to get you on board? Wouldn't take a lot of research, would it, into your recent output to tumble to the magic properties of vanishing ink?
She's not going to turn up tonight, is she?
Actually, I think I'll wait till Alec gets here. He really knows his wine, so... Oh, don't tell me. You can't be in Miami still. You promised. You'll be back by this morning.
Yeah, this is really tricky, babe, actually, because,